And when the financial crisis first appeared in the summer of this year and so on, people thought developing country may be insulated because most developing countries, their financial sectors are not so open, and their exposure to the supply and so on were very limited. But now, the financial crisis turned into some kind of economical crisis. Although the first one impact on the developing country may be limited, but the second one impact through several channels, reduction in the private capital flow to the developing country, reduction in the ODA to the developing country, reduction in the remittance to the developing country, and also other financial channels like trade credit and so on. People now agree it's impossible for the developing country to decouple from this crisis. And how to cope with this crisis? So my recommendation is as follows. For the high-income country, certainly, they need to adopt fiscal stimulus and to find areas of their bottleneck for growth. And we know that for the high-income country, in terms of infrastructure, highway, airport, mostly are there already. And so the potential will be in environmental-related green economies. That's for the high-income country. For the emerging market, like China, well, China is in a lucky position because the government have a very good fiscal position. As I mentioned, the government has surplus in the past few years. And China also has a very strong external position with 1.9 trillion foreign reserve. So the Chinese government should do something as Chinese government did in 1998-2002 to have a very aggressive fiscal stimulus and identify new areas of bottleneck. And China now is trying to identify several areas. One is environmental areas, energy saving, energy efficiency, those type of investment. And then in the rural infrastructures, and also in the social sector, investment in education, health, social protection. Those all have the same implication. In other emerging markets, I think that they can identify similar area for investment. But for other low-income countries, they also need to participate. Because it's a global crisis. If we want to get out of this global crisis, we need a global effort. But many other low-income countries, they may not be able to have this kind of fiscal stimulus, either because of their external account are in a very poor situation, or their fiscal position are very weak, or they have both constraints. And under this kind of situation, I'd like to promote an idea called Marshall Plan for Development. In a sense, that a high-income country like the US, although it's the centers of the crisis, but its fiscal position is strong. It can adopt aggressive fiscal stimulus. But the spending is not necessarily need to be related to the US itself, because as I mentioned, certain green economy can provide some room for investment, but other infrastructure is limited. But you need to have large enough stimulus. So under this kind of situation, the US government and other high-income countries can use part of their stimulus fund as a loan to the developing country. And not only the high-income country, they can do that. Countries like China or Norway have a very strong foreign exchange reserves. And they can use those funds as a loan to the developing country to make investment in their bottleneck region type of project. And we know the developing country, they do face a lot of bottleneck in their growth. Because at the beginning of last year, it was a period of high growth in many developing countries. But at the beginning of last year, 2008, the concern was inflation. Why the concern was inflation? Whenever you have bottleneck and you have high growth, you have inflation. So by giving loan to them, invest in those kind of bottleneck relation type of project, it will be a win-win situation for everyone. In a sense, it helped the world get out of the possible protracted recession. And those kind of investment is going to promote growth in the developing country. And that should be able to generate enough fund to compensate this loan. And that will be a good investment for the high-income country, but also providing the necessary foreign reserve, as well as this fund for investment for the developing country. And certainly, the World Bank and other multinational development institutions can help in channel those kind of funds to the developing country, help them to design a project, implement the project, and monitor the project. If we can do that, I think we can turn this crisis into an opportunity for sustainable and equitable growth.